Well, that would definitely be a bad day if you were reaching down in the brush and got your fingers next to him.
He hasn't moved.
Welcome back to Arkansas Bigfoot. I hope that opening scene didn't disturb you too much or run you off. That's one of the main reasons why we wear these rubber boots out here in the woods. Little creepy crawly critters slithering around all over the place, but thought you'd appreciate a up close and personal look at that little copperhead. I was sitting there thinking about one more thing to try out here. That little tiny camera is not waterproof 100%, and I didn't want to leave it out here over the course of a length of time where it would get rain on it, so I tried to come up with a way to protect it a little bit. It's one of those cheap glasses like you get a 4-pack at any of the dollar stores, and I just cut it in half and made a little shield, a little rain guard, and camera up inside of there, and we've got it pointing over at Junior's little hideout area, and going to turn this on and let it run until the battery runs out and see if it captures anything, but we'll find out if it works or not. Well, I know he's been back here since our last walk because that blue spam can has showed back up again. It's there in the get a spin, but just a couple minutes back here right now. No, the ball, I can see it over there, still hiding in his little cubby hole that he stashed it in. But I think today we'll put some stuff up in that box over there just to entice him back to the area again and see if we can get something captured on that little camera. We've got a lot of ground to cover and some things that we're gonna bring to your attention over the course of the walk today, so let us get this box fixed up and we'll pick it up in just a few minutes. Thanks. Alright, so we got Junior's little area all fixed up, and we've got this tree all fixed back up with the treats and stuff in it. There's a topic that's kind of been simmering on our back burner for a while now, and we wanted to take the lid off of it and stir the pot before it cooks over and makes a mess in and of its own self. It is something we've been running across back here quite a lot lately, and other people that have watched the videos have pointed out time marks that they have seen some very peculiar little faces and other things peeking out from around the trees, and kind of like to try to tie all this together and see if we can't make some kind of sense out of it today. I think we're going to walk up over this direction, so come on along and let's go. And we've got an area back here that we call the mound, and and it has got some very specific and unusual energy and activity around it. The other day we walked back to try to get back to the swampy area where the GPS tracker had pinned the first time Junior moved that ball around, but it's still too muddy and wet. It's got about 3 foot of water surrounding that island area. But while we were back at the mound, we were finding some little tiny handprints, and I'll put a picture up on the screen so you can see what we're talking about. Yeah, we've got raccoons and we've got possums and other small animals, and I've seen their tracks since I was old enough to realize what a track was, and these are not raccoon prints or possum prints. There's no claw marks on them. They are about 2.5 to 3 inches long and are a perfect miniature human hand, or the appearance of a human hand. And all in that area are these little tiny footprints, some of them barefoot, some of them look like they have like little moccasins or shoes on, and they're probably 5, maybe 6 inches. And you have to wonder, how does that stuff come to be in places like this? And you know, part of the reason might be due to the energy points and the portal areas that we've detected back here. I think another part of it has to do with the things we're going to talk about as we go along. One of the next images I'll put up on the screen for you is this face that is in the log over at Junior's little hangout, and that's probably one of the most defined little faces that I have seen in a long time. I mean, everybody can catch a glimpse of maybe a pattern or a design in the bark of a tree, like a wood spirit or something like that. You know, some of it's pareidolia. You know, your mind's just trying to make an organized image of the unorganized that it sees. But that one is probably the most distinct facial images that I've seen in a while. And the Native American history is rich in tales and lore of little people that lived in the earth all through the eastern part of the United States. From the far northeast, there's the Pukwudgies and their own versions of gnomes and elves and things like that that reside up there. One of the videos we were talking about giants and the mounds that they had excavated in Tennessee and Kentucky, and when they unearthed these giant bone skeletons, there was a smaller mound, and when they excavated it, it had tiny skeletons in it that they first thought were children, but after the scientists looked at them, they realized that they had all of their wisdom teeth and that they were adults. And most of them were 2 to 3 foot tall. Well, the lore surrounding that, the Native Americans called them the moon-eyed children, and they were always in accompaniment with the giants. And they would only come out at night. Most of them would wreak havoc and menace, play tricks on everything. Not really a whole lot more that I can elaborate on that point with those, but they did find a huge number of these skeletal remains. And they found them all over the country. You know, the Cherokee in Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, all through that region, have a rich story to tell about when their ancestors first moved into those valleys all through Appalachia, that they found these well-tended gardens in these valleys, and no indications of any type of a village or houses or anything. And then at nighttime, these little tiny people would come out of these holes in the ground, and they would tend to the gardens and collect up the vegetables and take them back underground with them. There's all types of names that they were called depending on which tribe or which region that you talked to about it, but it was fairly consistent. There was a portion of them that were very helpful, that knew all of the herbs to help heal people, and then there were the other ones that were not so good, that played all kinds of...
They called them people eaters.
People eater, yeah. Played all kinds of tricks on anyone they came across. So if you jump forward in time to, you know, the 1820s, 1830s, and you've got the land grabs going on in Georgia and Tennessee and North Carolina, and all of the history with Andrew Jackson involved in that, and the relocation of all of the Native Americans in that region. They say that a lot of these tiny people made that journey with them in their relocation heading west, which came right through the Arkansas territories, right into the Oklahoma territories, and that a lot of them stayed here and are still here, that they essentially are, I don't know if immortal is the right word, or if they just lived for hundreds and hundreds of years, but you know, we've got this mound area back here that is entirely fascinating to us, and one correlation I'd like to make with that is that in North Carolina, around one of the universities, when they were excavating the ground, they came on to all of these tunnels that were anywhere from 2.5 to 3 foot tall, about 2 foot wide, and you could tell that they had all been created by hand, because all of the ceilings in these tunnels were arches, and only somebody with some kind of engineering knowledge would know to make it like that to keep the earth from collapsing in on these holes. And these tunnel systems went all over that area. I mean, they don't even know how far most of these stretch, but they had found this mound with a giant hole in the top of it, and it connected to several of these tunnels, like laying a wagon wheel on its side, and you look at the center hub and all the tunnels would be the spokes. Well, we have something very similar to that back here. Well, we've been walking around trying to find some of those little prints to show you, and right here crossing this creek is one. Let's see if I've got a quarter in my pocket to lay down in it for comparison.
So there's the back of the heel and the toes. I was trying to see if they were actual toes.
Yeah, and all of them, even the barefoot ones, the toes seem like they're turned more
out,
or yeah.
But there's the quarter, so it's about twice as wide as a quarter, not even.
At the heel.
At the heel. The widest part would be about 2.5 quarters. We'll keep an eye out for some more.
And that's right here, crossing this little piece of creek to this last gifting tree, and our white plastic bucket has finally made it down to the ground.
Sure has. Let's go see what else. And traditionally, this is when Big Daddy comes strolling through.
Well, I'm not reaching my arm down in there. I gave you that snake stick to use out here today, so.
That's mineral block is still there.
We'd broken up that molasses mineral block and left pieces out here, and that's the only one that stayed in place. The rest of them are gone. But on the story of these little tiny people, we've caught glimpses in our peripheral of things running through the woods and moving through the brush that I know is not a raccoon or possum or a small deer or anything like that. One day we were back here walking out toward the mound area, and what I thought I saw at first was like a small 35 pound pig with its butt facing toward me at the base of a tree, rooting around the base of a tree. And when we got closer to it, about 40 yards away, it stood up on 2 feet, turned its head and looked kind of in our direction over its shoulder, and then literally just walked into the tree and vanished.
Yeah, for lack of a better way to put it, that's all you can say.
You were telling me about some of the legend or lore about those little people in the Cherokee Valley taking children to raise up.
The way I understood it was that they would take a child and teach them herbology and later return the child, and those children would become the medicine people for their tribes. And they say that only the shaman medicine people are the ones that are allowed to see them as they are. Everybody else gets either a flash of light, possibly an orb, and that's it. So I thought that was kind of neat, in that, you know, a lot of us that are out here are experiencing those flashes and orbs. And maybe it's more than Sasquatch.
And I think a lot of the lore on them said that they would wear animal skins, like, you know, make clothes out of that, and little moccasins. Some of them obviously were barefoot, but...
Well, it kind of threw us at first because some of the smallest feet had toes, but they weren't shaped like, I don't know, they weren't right. They weren't normal.
The angle of the toes were different.
How do you say what's normal for Sasquatch? But it just was different. The toe and the angle of the toes were different, much smaller, but no adult tracks with them like you would see with a baby Squatch and a mother, for example. And it kind of got our curiosity peaked, and then when we started finding the small hands just intermittently, and they're very careful, to be honest. I don't think that they allow you to find it unless they intend for you to find it.
So we've found a few of them in the mud where it looks like they've been over either cleaning something or washing something, and then you'll see one on the side of a tree like they put their hand against the tree about 2 foot up and leaned against the tree for a minute. You'll see a muddy handprint.
Sorry, I was hearing something over here to our right.
That's what kind of why I'm looking over that direction, but
it was straight in front of me.
But there are all kinds of things out there that are yet to be explored and discovered in depth, so it's going to be one of the things we're going to touch on as time goes on.
Yep. There's a lot going on out here. And it wouldn't be fair to attribute everything to Bigfoot, i.e. Sasquatch. Although I have no doubt in my mind they're responsible for a lot. See a red one. Oh, she just moved. Deer are taking off. Something's moving over there.
Well, let's head over that way and see.
Grab my bucket.
Something's got them spooked.
I don't think it's gone far though, the dogs aren't baying. I just saw it. Oh, I mean dead in front of you, low to the ground. Well, not real low, but probably 3 feet. It's a little ways from here.
I'll put it back on wide angle because if anything runs or moves, it won't pick up on the zoom. All you'll see is a bunch of brush.
They're running the other way now.
Something was herding them in different. They came from the left, they stopped, they freaked out, went to the right.
And they stopped, and now they went back left. I don't know if we should mess with them if they're trying to.
I'm going back there.
Just saying.
Hear you. Everything's vacating the premises, even the birds now. One thing to be aware of, this is the day before the full moon, and that's usually when we catch the most activity. When you first pointed that out, I could see those deer run over to that side, and then I saw her. She was 6 of that in height.
It's very big.
absolutely no quiet way to get through here.
It's impossible up here to be quiet.
Not sure whether to go off to the right or go off to the left.
Thinking if they went that way, the dogs would be at it. What's that?
one of those little tiny bare footprints.
Just caught my eye. This area back here is...
Well, that's the mound, about 35, 40 yards
this area
up
back
there.
here is kind of spooky.
I don't know what it was that had those deer all tore up, but it wasn't us, because they were oblivious to us even being over there. Something ran them one way and flipped them around and ran them the other way.
At a glance, what I saw was something tall and rusty red, and then dark running back left about 3 or 4 feet. Oh, is that a baby? This is probably a baby spot right here. It's too deep. It's a baby right behind you, lady.
Definitely not enough eyes to look up, look out, and look down, and look behind.
No kidding. I got my snake poker. Right here, look.
Yeah.
You said that's young.
Yeah, it's probably from at least this morning, the way that mud's dried out in it. Alright guys, so there's the mound that we have referred to off and on and shown you a couple times in previous videos.
Yeah. We only come back here maybe once a month. We tried to come back here. It was way too muddy. After that GPS came this way. Okay, let's see if I see prints.
I think one of the more weird things that we get quite often out here, and I made mention of it in that video, the games that Sasquatch plays, and I asked you when we were at the gifting tree if you could hear that wind chime music. And we'll get that a lot out here, or we'll get what sounds like
Kind of like flutes.
like a small toy flute of sorts.
Something. We've never tried to pursue it because legend and lore would say that it's entrapment.
If you follow the sound of the flute, you'll never be seen or heard from again.
Or at the very least, you're not going to find it because it'll just keep
taking you deeper and deeper into the woods.
So whether that's true or not, we don't know.
Alright guys, it's starting to get sunset out here, and I think we're going to hike back up toward the house. And
some of these tiny structures are something else that are catching my eye, because even the baby builds them bigger than that.
Yeah, a lot of these little teepee looking things, they're just too tiny.
I might look for feet around those.
Alright, well, it was kind of start and stop, guys, but I hope you enjoyed the walk out here tonight. Had a little moment of excitement. We'll catch you later.